Back in 2017, one of the most dangerous periods in Bitcoin's history, the fork wars, actually became one of the most bullish. Bitcoin in that cycle ran from $200 in 2015 to $20K at the 2017 peak. And if you've been paying attention, you already know that history is rhyming again in a major way. We recently dropped an episode detailing the corruption at Core, OpReturn, and the proposed solutions in Knots and BIP 110. Today, we're going to take a trip back in time with a Bitcoin legend who live documented all of it. And we're going to see all that we can learn about what's happening today from Bitcoin's history. And by the end of today's show, you're going to understand why this civil war taking place within Bitcoin is a massively bullish signal. We got a lot to cover, so let's get to it. Sunday.
The main reason to run a Bitcoin node is that you validate your own transactions to make sure that Bitcoin you're receiving are not counterfeit, are not being double spent, and are not being directly tracked by someone else. That's the main reason to run a node, right? It's not to have a vote on what's best for the future of Bitcoin, right? I mean, it's great. The masses can vote for the right president, right? And how often does that work out, right? So believing that just because you're on a node, you should decide, you should be the ultimate decider on what Bitcoin code is, I think is, what's the right way to put it here? Overplaying, I'm trying to think of the right words here, because everyone's going to take this shit out of context, as they always do. To use a basketball analogy, people start to smell themselves just because they run a node. You run a node and suddenly you think you know what's best for Bitcoin. People that build their nodes from scratch, people that didn't buy a node in a box, people that didn't go to Casa for their node, people that didn't go to Start9 for their node, people that actually built a node from scratch, I respect those people way more. And most of those people that built a node from scratch have a way better understanding on what kind of power that node gives them, because they'll understand that that node gives them very little power. It gives them the power over validating their own transactions, and that's about it. But people have been convinced that just because you're able to spin up a node, that somehow you should be in control of the Bitcoin network. And that's a very dangerous precedent.
Now, before we get into it, I want to tell you who we're going to be learning from today and why it matters. Tone Vays. Some refer to him as Tone Based. But look, Tone was one of the first people I ever actually learned Bitcoin from early on when I was going down the rabbit hole, trying to figure out what was real, what was noise, who actually knew what the hell they were talking about. Tone kept showing up. Clear, consistent, zero bullshit. The kind of guy who doesn't care if you agree with him. He's going to tell you what he sees. That's it. That's exactly how Dr. Jack is as well, and exactly why I will try to learn everything I can from them whenever they chime in. I think you should too. And why? Because you know it's their genuine, authentic belief, and they don't give a about what you may think or what makes you uncomfortable. And that's part of the reason they are legends. Legends disagree. Iron sharpen iron. About a year ago, I flew out to Alaska to MC a conference. I met Tone in person, spent some real time with him, played poker. The dude's an incredible chef. He fed like 30 people in a B&B. It was incredible. I thought I had a decent grasp on Bitcoin's history before picking his brain and realizing I had maybe a 30% picture. Maybe because there is a difference, a real significant difference between reading about something and sitting across from someone who was actually in it, who had the arguments live, who watched the agreements get made and broke it in real time, who documented every move as it happened. That's what makes this thread special. Tone didn't just remember the fork wars. He live tweeted them, every key vote, every broken deal, every fake node, every bombshell as it happened. And here's my thing. I'm not here to tell you what to think. I'm not here to tell you what client to run. That's not me. That's not what I do. I'm here to inform you so you can build your own full picture, your own understanding, your own convictions. Because the people who were there, who lived it, those are the people worth listening to. So strap in And don't forget to smash that like button and hit that subscribe. Bitcoin in early 2015 was sitting at around 150 bucks, down from 1100 at the 2013 peak. Most people had written it off entirely. And a small group of very powerful interests, mining conglomerates, developers with agendas, venture-backed companies who raise money on the promise of building the blockchain ecosystem, decided if they couldn't own Bitcoin's price, they would own its protocol, control the code, set the rules, make Bitcoin do what they wanted it to do. If they'd succeeded, Bitcoin becomes PayPal 2.0, a corporate permission slip. The FIC wins without firing a shot. What followed was 3 years of the most vicious civil war in Bitcoin history, or most vicious so far. Am I right? December 2014, Mike Hearn launches the Bitcoin XT movement, a push to hard fork Bitcoin to 8 megabyte blocks. The pitch: Bitcoin has a scaling crisis. We need bigger blocks. Blow the whole thing up and start fresh. August 2015, the actual Bitcoin XT client goes live. Community response: collective shrug, GFY. But Hearn isn't alone. He's got Gavin Anderson, Bitcoin's original second in command in a way. He's got Roger Ver, Bitcoin Jesus. We know how that ended. A man so committed to big blocks that he bought Bitcoin.com and turned it into a propaganda operation. And when XT goes nowhere, Hearn publishes his famous Bitcoin has failed letter and takes a job at a banking consortium, which honestly tracks. But the movement doesn't die with him. It mutates. Bitcoin Classic, 2 megabyte blocks, then Bitcoin Unlimited, a dynamic block size up to 16 megabytes determined by miners, because sure, let the people who profit from bigger blocks vote on how big their own blocks can be. What could possibly go wrong? At peak hysteria, Bitcoin Classic nodes hit 2,400, a third of the entire network. Coinbase publishes an open letter calling Bitcoin core devs obstructionist. The mainstream narrative firms up. The core devs are stubborn ideologues holding Bitcoin back. Here's what the narrative was carefully not mentioning. Core devs had already proposed a solution, a genuinely brilliant, backwards compatible solution called segregated witness. Yeah, that thing, SegWit. Presented at the Hong Kong Scaling Bitcoin Conference in December 2015. Increased block capacity up to 4 megabytes without a hard fork. Paved the way for the Lightning Network. Required no node operator to upgrade against their will. Now, the big blockers disputed SegWit's technical merit. Roger Ver, Jian Wu, Craig Wright. They argued it was an overcomplicated hack, that a simple block size increase was the cleaner solution. SegWit requires 95% miner signaling over 2016 blocks, roughly 2 weeks to activate. SegWit was proposed in December 2015, coded, tested, sitting on the table for nearly 2 years. Miners found every reason not to give it 2 weeks. Nobody could publicly explain why until April 5th, 2017. This is the part of the fork wars that almost nobody in the legacy media ever fully explains, because it is genuinely one of the most brazen acts of corporate sabotage in Bitcoin's history. April 5th, 2017, a researcher drops a technical paper that lands like a grenade in the middle of what everyone thought was a political philosophical disagreement about block sizes. The paper reveals Bitmain has been using something called covert AsicBoost. Now, overt AsicBoost is a legitimate hardware optimization, transparent, fine, disclosed, but covert AsicBoost, that's exploiting a quirk in the transaction structure of empty blocks, deliberately mining blocks with no transactions to get a hidden efficiency advantage that no one else in the network had. Bitmain was quietly running a cheat code inside their own hardware, saving them enormous amounts in electricity costs, an advantage worth hundreds of millions of dollars that no competitor could see, verify, or match. And SegWit, by restructuring how transaction data is organized, would have made covert AsicBoost impossible. So the entire big block debate, 3 years of political theater, the fake nodes, Bitcoin Unlimited hitting 800 nodes, then crashing to 300 overnight, then someone scrutinized the data and found they were running automated shills. The venture capital pressure campaigns, the open letters from exchanges, all of it was at least in significant part a smokescreen. One thing: Bitmain's cheat code. Then it gets worse. April 28, 2017, security researchers discovered Antbleed, a backdoor in Bitmain's firmware used by 70% of the world's miners that gave Bitmain a remote kill switch. They could shut down your mining operation from Shenzhen without your consent, without your knowledge. The community's rage at this point is almost incomprehensible. And it is at this precise moment that the UASF movement becomes unstoppable. Now, speaking of not trusting centralized entities with what is rightfully yours, let's take a moment to recognize our sponsors powering this show over at the Bitcoin Way. Not your keys, not your Bitcoin. I need you to actually internalize this. I don't care if it's on Coinbase. I don't care if it's an iBit. I don't care if it's MicroStrategy. If someone else holds your Bitcoin, you're a creditor. You have a claim, not a coin. The fork wars were fought by plebs, by node runners, by people precisely so that Bitcoin couldn't be captured by corporate interests. Don't hand it back voluntarily. The Bitcoin Way will teach you proper self-custody, hardware wallet setup, running your own node, full on-chain verification, the whole thing. Learn to use Bitcoin as Satoshi intended by separating the money from state. Scan the QR on the screen, click the link in the show notes, book your free 30-minute consultation today. Here's the dirty secret about every other Bitcoin-backed lender. They're lending your collateral out. They're rehypothecating it. They're playing the same fractional reserve game the banks play with your Bitcoin. And when the music stops, your stack is gone. Ledn doesn't do that. Their custodied loan product means your Bitcoin sits in cold storage. Never lent out, never touched. That's the Satoshi standard. 8 years, $10 billion in origination, 0 customer Bitcoin lost. Lowest rates in the industry, no hidden fees, no fine print, auto top-up so you never get liquidated by a wick. 0 prepayment penalties, paid off whenever you want. Don't sell your Bitcoin to buy a house, a car, a business. Borrow against it. Keep your stack. Scan the QR or click the link in the description and head over to ledn.io. And before you assume the story ends with Bitmain winning, February 2017, 2 months after the AsicBoost bomb during a debate between Tone Vays and Roger Ver, someone online going by the handle at Mr. HODL floats a concept that nobody had seriously articulated before: a user-activated soft fork. The idea is almost frightening in its simplicity. What if the nodes, not the miners, the nodes just decided they didn't care what Bitmain wanted? Miners mine blocks, but nodes validate blocks. And if the nodes reject your block, it doesn't matter how much hash power you have. Your block is worthless. Core devs actually advised against it. Too risky. Could split the chain, which, respect, is a real concern. Pleb said, doesn't matter. March 12th, 2017, BIP 148 is born. A runnable piece of code with one rule. After August 1st, 2017, any block that doesn't signal SegWit gets rejected. Full stop. By June 2nd, 2017, 85% of the network nodes are running SegWit compliant software. And core contributor James Hilliard drops BIP91, an elegant hack on the activation mechanism that reduces the miner signaling threshold from 95% all the way down to 80%. And the signaling window from 2 weeks to 2 days. Within 72 hours of BIP91 signaling opening, SegWit was locked in. Before Garzik even got his SegWit 2x code out of beta. Let that sink in. The miners had spent 3 years blocking SegWit, and the plebs built the scaffold to make their veto irrelevant, with code on the internet for free. May 23rd, 2017, 58 companies, Coinbase, Bitfinex, a who's who of the Bitcoin industrial complex, and 83% of mining hash power signed something called the New York Agreement. On the surface, a win. SegWit will activate. The scaling debate is over. Shake hands, move on. But tucked into the fine print in November, we're also hard forking Bitcoin to 2 megabyte blocks, SegWit 2x, take it or leave it. 0 trusted, respected core developers signed it. Only Garzik and Gavin Anderson, the same 2 guys who'd been on the wrong side of every major Bitcoin call for like 4 consecutive years at this point. Allegedly, those 2 could have endorsed gravity and people would have started floating. Community reaction, instant fury. Because here's what the New York Agreement was. Stripped of the corporate language, miners and economic nodes cutting a backroom deal to give the plebs SegWit, the thing the community had been demanding for 2 years, while sneaking a controversial hard fork out the back door in November. It wasn't a compromise, it was an ambush in slow motion. Bear case, the chain could genuinely split. Exchangers are preparing for 2 tickers. The uncertainty is real. Bull case, 85% of nodes already spoke. And nodes define Bitcoin, not companies in New York boardrooms. Core developer Eric Lombrazzo goes on record June 29th of Bitcoin hard forks contentiously. Core devs quit. The miners blink first. July 22nd, 2017, via BTC, with Bitmain's backing, announces a hard fork launching August 1st. They're calling it Bitcoin Cash. Their escape valve, their consolation prize for losing the war. Fine, let them have it. August 24th, 2017, SegWit activates on Bitcoin after 3 years after fake nodes and broken agreements and covert mining cheat codes and corporate backroom deals. The plebs win. Now let's talk about the price. January 1st, 2017, Bitcoin $1,000. December 17th, 2017, Bitcoin $20,000. 20x, and November 2017, SegWit 2x collapses. The developers behind it cancel the hard fork, not because of a dramatic battle, not because a single shot was fired. The Bitcoin's network nodes simply didn't upgrade. And without node support, the fork was nothing. A press release with no chain behind it. Bitcoin didn't just survive the fork wars, it survived them, and then the market finally, fully looking at what Bitcoin had just proven, repriced it at 20x. That wasn't hype, that wasn't a bubble. That was the market answering one question it had been asking for 3 years. Can Bitcoin actually be captured? The answer came back. No. Now let's bring it home. Bitcoin core developers, without broad community consensus, pushed through a change opening the op return fields to 100,000 bytes of arbitrary data per transaction. Op return was originally capped at 80 bytes, a small memo field. Opening it to 100,000 bytes means anyone can embed enormous amounts of arbitrary data, spam, illegal content, anything directly on the Bitcoin blockchain. Every node operator stores it forever with no opt-out. Sound familiar? I mean, different technical mechanism, same structural question. Who controls the code? Who decides what Bitcoin is? The community response so far, BIP 110, a proposal to roll it back. Pleb-led, grassroots, core devs advising caution while the community builds scaffolding around their hesitation. Bitcoin's greatest price appreciation in history has not come from adoption events alone. It has come from survival events, from the market watching Bitcoin face a genuine, well-funded, technically sophisticated attempt to capture it, and watching Bitcoin not just survive, but win. Because when Bitcoin wins one of these, the market isn't just pricing in an upgrade, it's pricing in the proof that Bitcoin cannot be captured, that the immune system works, that no matter how much hash power you control, no matter how many companies you put in a room in New York, no matter how many cheat codes you run in your firmware, the network is ungovernable, and that's worth another 20x. The fork wars weren't a near-death experience, they were a proof of life. Every attack made Bitcoin more decentralized. Every attempt at capture made the immune system stronger, and the market repriced that proof of survival accordingly. We are watching that immune system activate again right now in 2026 in real time. When you set up your Bitcoin wallet, did you actually plan for real life? Because phones get lost. People forget things, stuff breaks, and eventually, whether you like thinking about it or not, your Bitcoin may need to be passed on to someone else. That's exactly why BitKey makes so much sense. It's like the idiot-proof hardware wallet. BitKey is a self-custody Bitcoin wallet designed around the fact that life happens. There's no seed phrase sitting on a piece of paper that can disappear forever, and there's no single point of failure where one mistake means your Bitcoin is just gone. The new BitKey device even has a touchscreen, so when you're approving something important, you can actually verify what's happening before you approve it. Transactions, recoveries, address changes. You can see it yourself instead of blindly trusting that everything is okay. Recovery and inheritance are built in. Lose your phone, you have a recovery path. Want to make sure your family can access your Bitcoin someday? You can set that up too. No extra subscription, no separate inheritance service, no insanely complicated process that requires a computer science degree and a treasure map. It's just a much more practical way to hold Bitcoin for the long term. Get your BitKey today and use promo code SUNDAY to get 10% off. That's it. Get your BitKey. Do it. Do it today. Hey, hope you guys enjoyed this one. Stack sats, hold the line, don't sell your Bitcoin, smash the like button, hit subscribe, give us a pap, and let us know what you think down below. And check out Tone's thread. It's a trip through history, great education, excellent stuff. Andy's one of the legends, so you should try to learn, and maybe we could all be less and try to learn from each other. It's probably a good start. But anyway, love you guys. Catch you next time. Peace.
If you prefer to go down with the ship, you.